video is intended to describe a lightblade wand named Beloved. Joining me today will be my whimsical stick figure chakra map, to which I will utilize quite a bit for various chakra Q stimulation of this vast crystalline apparatus. And as a perfect preliminary, I'll be discussing the primary blade band scaffolding seen like so, vaguely resembling a figure 8 developed for energetic recirculation, as also to serve as a very effective vibrational containment field for maximum recirculation of the excess energy of this entire very vast construct. So seen under here, this would be the transmutation ratio. Concealed now by this lovely white leather, there actually is a band of exactly this sequence of hematite and smoke quartz going underneath here, grounded to this lateral band seen right here, as well as this lateral band from here to here of the, once again, transmutation sequence, which is now concealed by the leather. As well as by where the main heart of the construct is, would be once again the transmutation ratio, making a grounded perimeter seen right here, once again, of course, grounding into the lateral band of the transmutation ratio, which makes it a very consistent vibrational quadrant of exactly the same frequencies of, once again, hematite and smoky quartz. Hematite is a fantastic iron-based mineral that takes very, very strong grounding capacity of all excess stray radial energy, grounds it firmly through the root chakra, into the earth stars, into the earth for reprocessing. In tandem with smoky quartz seen right here, which provides the same energetic pathway stimuli to once again ground all excessive energy through the root chakra, into the earth stars, into the earth for reprocessing. Hence the two together have been deemed the transmutation ratio to have a very high transmutation ratio by consistent etheric dialysis into the earth for a very quick reprocessing, which plays many merits of this construct's intended design. So the aspect of the transmutation ratio, of course, like implied with transmuting negativity into positivity, is a very strong piloting of energy to once again promote the excess energy of this entire construct to ground into the earth for reprocessing at a very quick ratio, providing, once again, I'll say this to repeat myself, etheric dialysis at a very high ratio, which is very, very effective. Another completely very contingent aspect of the transmutation ratio as well is to serve as a grounding anchor point for the entirety of the very rarefied ethereal energy of this very complex crystalline entity. So that plays, of course, a crucial role to take this entire vast apparatus through the scaffolding seen right here of this quadrant and firmly ground the excess energy of the entire output of the platform into the earth to, of course, bring tangibility to the very excessive crystalline overture this has been developed to be, which will make more sense. And of course, that's why I felt it very prudent to start off with that part of the dissertation to discuss the foundational scaffolding that'd be quite essential for, quite simply, making the magic real and being very, very highly discouraging for stagnant energy to maintain the field by itself, this is sequenced by itself, through transmutation by very, very consistent reprocessing would be very discouraging for negative energies, not of one's divine blueprint, to stick in the field. So that'd be the transmutation scaffolding mentioned thus far, seen like so in this quadrant. Now I'll be going into what's considered to be the love-shine ratio, a very, very well-utilized and well-developed platform over the years. But this, of course, is named Beloved, which is a nice variation of the love-shine platform. Starting off with clear quartz seen right here, once again, of course, grounded into the transmutation scaffolding, goes right from here, this clear quartz, into the first ignition proper of the ratio would be that of rutilated quartz. So rutilated quartz is clear quartz with bands of rutile in the structure that work as a massive acceleration of other frequencies in the termination sequence. So the aspect of clear quartz, of course, also makes for a very nice neutral amplification of other frequencies through particularly ignition sequence for that matter. But the bands of rutile, of being a titanium oxide, make for a very powerful supercharger of other frequencies in a sequence. That's why it's quite crucial to make sure that the love frequency is highly intensified as a big prerogative of this construct. Then starting off right here would be the lovely rose quartz, which is a very famous and common, thank goodness, high heart pink ray divine love alignment stimulant for the chakra calm, which is very, very nice, and of course is quite essential in the very ironic way I say this of weaponizing love in a vibrational wand, if you would. I say that with great jest, of course. Then from rose quartz goes into golden healer quartz, which is a quintessential gold white light, high heart source attunement. So that being stated in a metaphysical dissertation is obviously very advantageous. And having a clean shot to the alignment of source creation as a subcapacitation to the pink ray concentration goes a very long way for divine attunement, which is the whole aspect also. Once again, I repeat my joke of this being weaponized divine love, essentially is the ambitious endeavor here. Then, from the golden healer quartz, it goes into kunzite. Kunzite is another lovely pink ray crystal of high heart activation of love, yet the high lithium capacity of kunzite also makes for an extremely soothing vibration of love, which works great in tandem with the rose quartz. So that entire sequence repeats itself until it grounds back in to the clear quartz to be a neutral accelerant, going into the transmutation ratio to, of course, most importantly, take the very high yield source divine love and give it a very strong foundational ground point as the exterior scaffolding for recirculation of this entire construct, which will be more crucial as I go on discussing the various organs of the crystalline entity as it progresses through the video. But that's, of course, why it's very relevant and a very good way to, of course, kick off this dissertation by highly discussing the figure 8 scaffolding being the recirculation containment field of this very vast little, actually not quite so little, superconductor, quite simply. Then right here, this would be a lateral band of what would be considered a foundational ratio, which makes for a fantastic antithesis to the very high radial source divine love attunement of the primary blade band. As another layer of contingency, if you would. Starting off with Tiger's Eye, seen right here. Tiger's Eye is an incredible solar plexus, sacrum, and root chakra stimulant, yet it also formulates a very strong alignment of lower 3 chakras, which makes it very, very advantageous for the lower scaffolding to be stimulated in tandem with the very radial high divine frequency energy of, quite simply, divine love primary focus in a vibrational emanation attunement. Then right here, to subcapacitate this frequency would be something called tourmalated quartz, which actually is black tourmaline found with quartz structure. With very high amounts of black tourmaline in here, which virtually looks completely black in this video, yet there is indeed inductions of quartz, which quartz is quite important for being a neutral subcapacitator to transfer the energy through basically a octave band of a vibrational output of this containment band. But the aspect of black tourmaline found in the quartz makes for a natural massive amplification of black tourmaline, which is quite the black ray crystal in vogue for once again being a high transmutation frequency by high stimulation of the earth stars for, once again, very high yield reprocessing of negativity by making a strong bypass in the earth for reprocessing. Then to further stabilize that ratio would be that of red jasper. Red jasper is the quintessential root chakra stabilizer in the mineral kingdom, as very, very effective for stabilizing the base scaffolding of the root chakra, which is very, very advantageous for just stable, grounded, strong vibrations. Hence, the two together of this ratio are quite effective for being a very strong grounding and stabilization of the lower 3 chakras, which is very advantageous for the spiritual adept, particularly in aspects of serving in many realms of creation, and of course to encourage, once again, making the magic real. Through that zest for life, gusto, vitality, stabilized is very, very advantageous, particularly for this design. Completing like so, which grounds back into, of course, the transmutation scaffolding to give it a common ground to ensure this entire frequency contact patch has a very strong grounding contingency, which I cannot express enough to its highlighted importance in this very ambitious endeavor, I feel. So next, I'll be discussing this entire section, which would technically be the engine of the construct, or main heart of the crystalline entity, if you would. And before I do that, I'll go ahead and discuss the white leather hood seen right here before I catalog the excessive crystalline composition found down there. So, by design, once this has been cataloged, of course this will be wrapped in a very aesthetic fashion while I'm at it, naturally. To kind of illustrate a little bit right here. So this part right here of the hood, if you would, is actually far more than a stack, but indeed a very functional part of the construct. So the aspect of the white leather, that goes for this white leather previously installed for that matter, is a very nice diffusing of the 7 rays of white spectrum light, of course, which makes for a very nice common frequency stimulation as a color therapy resonance. But where it's also very important too, Besides the fact that, of course, it will protect all these subtle stacked crystals seen right here, which, of course, are like the organs of the entity. So naturally, you don't want them running away, of course, because it's quite the vast terminated network, particularly if it's being wielded as a wand at adventures, quests, you name it, who God knows where this baby will end up. So that's a way, of course, to protect all these stones seen here in this termination sequence. But perhaps most importantly would be the aspect also of actually working as an insulation agent to further condense the energy through this blade band, so it mitigates lateral stray leakage of energy. So it's more condensed and more focused, so the energy is not leaking, if you would, but more contained and recirculating through the entire primary blade band with mitigation of losing current, basically. That is the biggest aspect of the design. And once that's, of course, installed, this right here will be a triquetra, which is a very famous druidic symbol of great prestige, which I will omit the lore because there's already so much to talk about here. But that's exactly why it's there, because it's very special to the recipient. And that is that. Now it's time for the intensive cataloging of the engine seen right here. So the absolute main heart of the construct would be this lovely Lemurian clear quartz seen right here, which has now been very well concealed by many other components affixed to it. So the clear quartz, like mentioned up here, makes for a very fantastic neutral amplification of other frequencies, such as impulses of the wielder, as well as general vibrational compound interest amplification of a very vast crystalline apparatus seen right here. So the aspect right here of the Lemurian clear quartz, of course, is a very critical component for the impulses of the wielder's magic, if you will, for a broadcast projection, putting in the realm of consciousness-assisted technology of deep resonance of output and charging and programming from the external apparatus through the impulses of the hand. Actually, I must stop digressing and stick back to cataloging. It's very easy to get on very many tangents of metaphysical dissertation conceptualization on these videos, and it takes great discipline to get back on target, which is happening right now. So the aspect, of course, that's Lemurian clear quartz right here. Then, at the very apex of the bottom of the construct, would that be that of star argonite, which is a member of a holy trinity of crystals I utilize quite frequently, combining that of star argonite, seraphinite, and black tektite at the very apex of the business side of the construct, if you would, which will make more sense as I continue on, God willing. So the aspect of star argonite is a calcium-based full light body healer from top to bottom that works very quickly and very gently to dismantle patterns of dis-ease found in the chakra column nerve ganglia manifesting as an ailment of any kind. So that's a premier light body healing stimulant seen right here, in tandem with seraphinite, this lovely green ray crystal, which is the second member of the Holy Trinity I'm discussing in one shot. Seraphinite is a very fantastic green ray named after the seraphim archangels, just like star argonite, full light body healer from bottom to top that works very quickly to dismantle patterns of dis-ease found in the auric field, for that matter. Then, of course, the Trinity, you never would guess this point, of black Tibetan quartz with the black inclusions from Tibet, just like the other two predecessors I mentioned so far, works with a very diligent full light body stimulant as well that, I just repeat myself for the third time, is very effective for dismantling patterns of dis-ease found in the auric field template. And it's quite the powerful toroidal field ohm resonant stimulant that makes a very nice higher stellar gateway activation, as well as a very dynamic, strong grounding as well. So those three together are what I consider the holy trinity of full light body stimulants and master healers that, once again, I'll say it thrice if I have to, are employed quite religiously together for very dynamic utilitarian healing purposes, obviously. So this next section I'll discuss in one shot due to their intrinsic nature of working with each other, starting off with the jasper and agates seen right here. So red jasper is the quintessential earth vibrational root chakra stimulant in the mineral kingdom to stabilize the root chakra. Fire agate is the most stable fire elemental corresponding frequency in the mineral kingdom that stimulates it, both most importantly stabilizes the solar plexus, the sacrum, and the root chakra. Then going into moss green agate, which is a water elemental stabilization of the heart chakra. Then going into blue lace agate, which is another water elemental stabilization of the 5th chakra. Then grape agate seen right here, which is a lovely violet ray wind stabilization stimulant of the 6th and 7th chakras. So the aspect of why that's so crucial to discuss in one tangent is it takes the aspects of the 4 terrestrial elements of earth, fire, water, and wind and stabilizes them in the most stable configurations I can possibly get my hands in for a very dynamic superconductor lightblade wand, which is very, very good indicative balance. For longevity's sake, to have elemental balance of the 4 terrestrial elements is its own merit. Hence, it's always a lot of fun, of course, to discuss these guys playing a critical role of stabilizing the elemental spectrums. Then right here, this would be serpentine, quite literally from my backyard here in Mashasta from riverbed over yonder, which is a very lovely Kundalini serpentine activator as well, which of course inherently works as a nice cellular respiration frequency augmentation, and also, of course, a very nice Mount Shasta frequency resonance. Then right here will be a classic crystal of antiquity, loved by millions for thousands of years, that of turquoise. So turquoise is a fantastic 5th chakra stimulant with great amount of lore, which once again I will omit due to this very wordy long dissertation as is. But the aspect that's relevant here is that turquoise is a very fantastic stimulant to the 5th chakra, combining the aspects of earth, fire, water, and wind through a wholeness focus, which is very much a very strong pranic stimulant and balancer and equilibrium harmonizer, and most importantly, to really encourage one's divine aligned truth in alignment with one's conscious self, which is quite the incredible crystal of antiquity. Then right here, this would be a very lovely violet ray dharmic accelerant named Chaurite. Chaurite is an absolutely fantastic wind elemental, 6th, 7th, 8th non-physical chakra stimulant, yet the inclusions of the dendric with the calcite make for its own independent full light body activator, with the black ray concentration activating the earth stars to make a very strong grounding of high radial energy through the entire system to tangibilize one's direct path very effectively. And with the calcite in the matrix, works for a very effective clearing of densities that be impeding one's highest path or highest dharma fully manifest. So that is perhaps my favorite violet ray stone due to its extremely potent, utilitarian, applicable dharmic acceleration in a very clean, divine fashion. Then right here, speaking of calcite, this right here is oceanic calcite I harvested myself from the coast of Oregon. So the aspect of this calcite has literally been tumbled by the ocean for God knows how long, quite literally. And what makes it relevant is that calcite by itself is a fantastic, underrated clear of densities from the entire auric field, particularly in the white ray spectrum of hitting all the octaves. But the aspect makes it truly remarkable is that the ocean has quite literally tumbled this for, like I said, God knows how long. So the indelible vibratory mark of the ocean polishing this crystal is intrinsic as nature, which is very cool to have a crystal that's been shaped by the ocean through the entire apparatus seen right here, which gives it a very nice oceanic clearing capacity, which is its own merit. Then right here be another larger dose of tiger's eye seen in this lateral band right here. Tiger's eye, like I mentioned, is quite the integral lower 3 chakra alignment, particularly for a very high radial divine love apparatus. Having that grounding capacity further channeled lower 3 chakras to put it into practical action is quite critical. So that's where it comes in very handy. Then right here, this is fulgurite. This is literally lightning striking sand, which is the power of lightning strapped and terminated to this apparatus seen right here. So fulgurite is quite literally the power of lightning utilized by shamans of antiquity to harness the power of lightning to amplify or intensify their prayers. So it's a very classic, magically, shamanically utilized stone of intention amplification. And of course, with the literally mimicking the power of lightning, it makes for a very dynamic full light body activation from bottom to top as well, with literally the power of lightning terminated to a closed apparatus. Pretty intense stuff. Then right here, this would be black tektite, which is a product of meteorite impacting sand, which literally carries that heaven to earth cosmic impact frequency, which is a very, very advantageous crystal for many applications due to the fact that it's a black ray, earth star stimulant raising of vibration as a very effective way to tangibly raise vibrations from the foundational scaffolding of the auric field, which is its own merit from the ground up of high vibrations from space magic, basically. Very cool. Speaking of space magic, this is a very interesting pseudo-hematoid named Prophecy Stone. So, of course, like hematite has iron in the matrix, yet according to science, there are certain metals or alloys found in the structure that are not in our periodic table, which means it literally has space metal in it. And it was actually found by a gentleman who was looking for Libyan desert sand glass, which will eventually be discussed up here, who had an unexpected massive prophetic vision, hence the trade name Prophecy Stuck. So it's a very cool, mysterious story right there of a very powerful, cosmic, mysterious crystal, which may be a meteorite in its own right. Scientific jury is still quite befuddled by this existence of this particular matrix. But what makes it relevant here is that with that very high celestial stimulation of the higher chakras, third eye, the crown, soul star, and stellar gateway, and so on, it also has a very strong iron concentration that makes for its own dynamic rapid grounding through the earth stars to tangibilize magic even further. So of course, I often love to employ these guys in a very complex light blade apparatus for, quite simply, further vibrational compound interest of intensive space magic to make it real. Very cool stuff. Then down here would be smoky celestial quartz. Smoky quartz, as a base structure, just like seen right here, is a fantastic grounder of energy by itself based on its mineral composition. But it's the growth structure of celestial quartz that makes it quite the remarkable crystal seen right here for a very, very distinct, metaphysically far out purpose, which is quite oftentimes the challenge to discuss in a relatively coherent, linear fashion to be sensible and rational with this kind of far out dissertation, but practice makes perfect. Here we go again. So the aspect of the celestial structure of the quartz works as an auto-regulator based on the higher self template of the wielder. So it works to auto-calibrate a frequency pitch of other crystals to serve as an adaptogen to make the frequency of the entire bandwidth as absolute ingestible and comfortable as absolute possible, and auto-calibrates as a very strong fluctuation dimmer switch to raise vibrations or lower vibrations as needed by the higher self guidance. So now, of course, it makes more sense why it's a little difficult to discuss it in a rather coherent, linear, rational fashion as much as possible, because it's quite far out, but very, very, very much the quite integral component for maximum vibrational magical efficiency of any given one of these wands. And of course, it takes the entirety of the crystal pitch of this entire construct and brings it in a very rapid harmonization, auto-calibration, adaptogen phase at all times, moment to moment, basically. It's very, very meta stuff. So by golly, almost 23 minutes, and now I'm finally done with the engine. Now we're continuing on. So like mentioned previously, the transmutation scaffolding seen right here actually does run up on this side all the way to here, now concealed by this lovely white leather, seen like so. And next, I'll be discussing the thumb engagement. Like implied, is developed to engage the thumb, like so, which is its own very complex subroutine with the foundation of Libyan gold tektite. Libyan gold tektite is a very special golden ray, mysterious space glass or space obsidian, or even a tektite, which is the product of meteorite impacting sand that was enjoyed by the pharaohs of antiquity, be carved in scarab beetles put in their finery breastplates that were indicative of the badge of their office. Very cool stuff. And so it's quite the mysterious, powerful, celestial, sovereign frequency, which is one of my top 5 favorite crystals, if I dare say. And the aspect of Libyan gold tektite has a very strong fire stimulation of the solar plexus and the sacrum to very high premium, yet it has very strong storm overtones of activating the entire gold white light lumination radial body, and it's quite the sovereign empowerment of being a quintessential dharmic accelerant to manifest one's reality into full alignment with their highest intention of incarnation. It's very, very powerful stuff for the adept, for sure. And above that would be its very, very aggressive, famous at this point, green ray cousin of moldavite. Moldavite is quite the infamous crystal in this day and age for its very legendary dharmic acceleration capacity of being a very powerful storm elemental green ray high heart stimulant that has great association to the legends of the Holy Grail at this point. And so the aspect of moldavite is the quintessential dharmic accelerant that swiftly aligns one's inner reality to the external highest dharmic manifestation at rather a rapid pace, to put it very mildly. And so that aspect is quite potent for very high yield synchronicities, magic, and quite simply the shedding of the false self matrix into one's divine essence, aka the alchemical crucible, seen right here in this green ray crystal of great legend in Mystery, which of course comes from space, just like both these guys. And to work as a containment band to get the most out of that very intensive space magic concentration seen right here will be that of the coherence ratio. So right here, once again, this is black tourmalated quartz to work as a subcapacitation, much like visited down here. So the aspect of tourmalated quartz is, once again, clear quartz to work as a neutral acceleration of other frequencies in this circuit, with black tourmaline being highly amplified to offer a tremendous etheric vacuum purification grounding, which would be very, very advantageous with this configuration of both. Purple fluorite is a fantastic third eye stimulant of wind spectrum, is also one of the premier coherent aligners of energy that mitigates chaotic disparate frequencies, particularly between the left and right hemispheres, aka whole brain thinking, awakened third eye. So that's quite crucial. And then black tourmaline quartz to neutrally amplify into lapis lazuli, which is a very famous blue ray crystal of antiquity. That is a fantastic 5th and 6th chakra stimulant, a wind elemental concentration of one's sovereign highest truth being realized consciously. So that's quite the very powerful sovereign enhancement, as well as a classic cities or clairvoyant gift capacity enhancement, as well as a sequence, which of course is by design with this much concentrated space magic engaged with the thumb. Having a very, very clear, focused mental body channel, coherent alignment is quite essential. Then down over here will be the blade facing, which has been developed as symmetrical as absolutely possible for a very even vibrational compound interest of the sequence seen right here. Starting off with lepidolite. Lepidolite is a very fantastic lithium potassium based violet ray crystal that is perhaps one of the most soothing vibrations in the mineral kingdom for its extremely calming nervous system capacity, as well as emotional alleviation. Basically, it is like one of my absolute bread and butter winners when it comes to anti-anxiety frequency outputs. Actually, all three of these guys are to be a very, very good, soothing, calming, divine feminine frequency output that befits beloved. So lepidolite on both sides, and so here is Larimar, another extremely soothing oasis of calm stimulant of blue ray capacity that has a very nice 5th and 6th chakra stimulation, paradoxically combining the energies of fire and water, which is oftentimes diametric opposition in the mineral kingdom, but this is quite the special variety of crystal that has gained quite a bit of praise and lore since its discovery in the early 80s. And so the aspect of Larimar also makes for a very lovely 5th chakra highest truth stimulant of divine goddess capacity, particularly alignment with soothing nature of receptivity. It's quite the amazing aspect, actually. And so that's another layer of calm. Then right here is scolecite with a little bit of pink scolecite in the matrix. That would be of one of the quintessential stones of divinity I employ exactly for this purpose. Scolecite is another extremely soothing, calming, divine alignment frequency that is very, very advantageous for the stimulation of the 6th, 7th, 8th non-physical chakras, and most importantly, brings a very calming mind disposition, very indicative of alignment with one's witness highest self. So that a pristine vibration of divinity goes a very long way to bring a very high divine connection contact patch through the entire apparatus as well. Alrighty, so that'd be, once again, very good timing for how complex this is in this video. So now I'll be discussing the wooden core of this entire device, seen right here. So the entire core of this device is a carbon-based wood that's been sanded out of oak, which actually comes from my lovely backyard here in Mount Shasta from this guy over here. And so oak is a very fantastic, famous wood of legend, and also, pragmatically speaking, a very dense hardwood that's very, very discouraging towards breakage, which makes it a very natural choice. And with the very strengthened atomical structure of the carbon-based compatibility, makes for a very strengthening foundation of this entire silica apparatus built around it, which plays quite the crucial role as well to take the entire silica output of this device and make for a more carbon-based transferability to the physical carbon-based avatar, which makes, of course, another layer of making the magic real and entering the earth plane through carbon resonance of a sacred one-legged with this very ethereal high radial output. Quite crucial. And affixed to the oak wood itself would be that of selenite seen right here. So selenite is a wonderful white ray crystal of the mineral kingdom that is indicatively a very mighty master healer in its own right, based on these capacities of making a very strong stimulation clearing of the 6th, 7th, and non-physical chakras back to one's Godhead, effectively working as a very powerful way to clear debris between one's highest guidance, one's conscious self. And with that high frequency induction, works to also purify all densities not of one's highest divine essence through the entire auric field, burning off stagnancies, completing the sequence, which by itself is quite remarkable with, of course, spiritual guidance, impeccable alignment, mitigation of electromagnetic interference, essentially, as well as purification and healing through that is quite remarkable. But where it truly shines in any given one of these constructs is for this crucial fact. In this termination sequence, with all these crystals mentioned so far, over 31 whole minutes here of consistent crystalline granting, it takes the entire collective of these crystals. It works to purify all of these crystals. It works to amplify or intensify all these crystals, but perhaps most importantly, always, it works to also bring equilibrium and harmonize the entire crystalline frequency pitch, which is, I consider, the most crucial part of the triumphant trifecta discussed right there. So to highlight that aspect, selenite takes the entire crystal pitch. It works to amplify, purify, and harmonize the entirety of the collective, which, in my humble opinion, makes for a very effective spirit tool and very dynamic in range. Then affixed to the selenites are something called kyanite in the 4 spectrums I have easily available to me of black kyanite, orange kyanite, green kyanite, and blue kyanite. So for this section right here, I'll be utilizing my penmanship whimsically fast to do my best to illustrate the high capacity transferability of these kyanite structures found in the structure, to illustrate and do my best to describe their functionality. So black kyanite is the most rapid transfer of energy in the mineral kingdom, absolutely quick as possible, by rapidly dispersing energy into the earth at a very high ratio, basically quicker than anything else in the mineral kingdom at the speed of quantum light. And so with that high yield grounding, it also works as another contingency surge protector to ensure the entire frequency pitch is getting into the earth, which is very effective. And also, of course, with that configuration, also brings the magic into tangibility even further through constant repatching, and rebroadcasting. Then going into orange kyanite is a very rapid sacrum transference of very high yield nature that bridges past blockages of creativity, one's I am template at the speed of quantum light as well. Then, of course, green kyanite is a very effective heart chakra stimulant that bridges past any blockages or limitations of the heart chakra in tandem. Then blue kyanite is a very effective third eye stimulant that works very effectively to mitigate the cross interference or restitch patterns between the left and right hemispheres, aka whole brain thinking, the awakened third eye. So the 4 together also serve as a very rapid rerouting of energy at the speed of quantum light that works like another layer of etheric Teflon to mitigate any aspects of gross imperfections in one's divine template at the speed of quantum light, to constantly reroute and buffer and transfer, as well as is quite integral for actually taking the entirety of the figure 8 scaffolding and making the transferability a coherent field broadcast for tangible magic. And then aspects also supporting the tangible magic here would be the focalizer crystals seen right here. So on the back side right here, this would be a modern man-made alchemical triumph of titanium aura quartz, which is quartz pressure bonded with titanium. So with titanium amplified by quartz, it makes for a very powerful strengthening of the entire rainbow light body as well, and the entire auric field template, which is very effective for mitigating weak other energies, basically throwing off the auric field balance, as well as subtle DNA protection. Very empowering, very strengthening stuff. Hence, it's virtually always used in lightblade wand, particularly in junction with clear quartz, to work as the absolute neutral focus of this entire output of this device, seen right here. Like mentioned a few times previously in this video, common clear quartz by itself is one of the most ambient, neutral amplifications of other frequencies in the mineral kingdom. Hence, the focalizers take the entirety of the figure 8 scaffolding of this very complexive closed-loop circuit and works as a vibrational sharpening focus of the entire emanation by design, which of course is developed to pragmatically direct current very effectively toward my buddy out here for a relevant example, that sacred one-legged, to effectively transfer the figure 8 scaffolding into a focused broadcast. And by golly, that would basically be it. So that would be the entirety of the crystalline cataloging, of course, attended to by now. And it's been quite the mouthful, as, as can be witnessed. And so obviously this is quite the dynamic, highly concentrated, love, high heart attunement frequency generator with many supporting elements literally covering every spectrum of the chakra of calm in many various doses of stability and stimulation in many, many different ways, making quite the potent crystalline apparatus, crystalline organ entity seen right here. Well, that'll be beloved. 1,000 blessings, and may the force be with us all.